AFT publishes this. And it usually has some pretty good articles in it, and that's what I gave you a copy of, because it really kind of fits in well with what we're talking about. So I'm just going to read a couple of columns, and then I think it would be a good resource too, because I went online and looked at these resources, and they seem pretty good. I had not heard of this program before, or this practice. It says, educators know the importance of building a safe and supportive school culture, yet such a culture does not always exist in communities of learning. Often in environments that do not foster positive relationships, serious student behavior issues can occur. And that's usually why most people have behavior problems, is because of not having that kind of climate. How to handle those situations in classrooms and on school campuses is critically important to the mission of public schools, educating all students. Around the nation, school discipline policies and practices disrupt teaching and learning. Statistics show a high differentiation between suspensions of white students and suspensions of students of color and students with disabilities, who receive a disproportionate number of referrals. Recent data from the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights reveals the negative impact this disparate treatment has on our youth. To create safe and welcoming schools, we must move away from punitive zero tolerance measures. And that was one of the things I think that happened. They thought that and it hasn't worked. The zero tolerance does not work, because basically it says you don't get a second chance. Okay, so if you don't have a second chance, then what's the point? So educators must have access to alternatives to suspensions and be trained to implement practices that can create a more effective teaching environment, reduce bullying, decrease suspensions and expulsions, and increase time for learning by minimizing disruptions. That's where restorative practices come in. The term describes approaches that, and see, I had not heard this term before. Have you heard that? I know. Proactively build healthy relationships and a sense of community to prevent and address conflict and wrongdoing. So I think that's where this kind of approach fits in. It helps us develop those proactive environments. So that's why I gave that to you. And also it has kind of what the restorative practices are up here and the additional resources. So it has some, yeah, I had not heard of that before. So when, sometimes when things come in the mail, it's like, whoa, this came in just in time, because I thought it would be.
SF.org. I think it's is it a city?
It might be Sam. I think so, because I think when I saw something else, it's like coming out of San Francisco. I went to these websites, but I didn't really have time to search them. I just kind of looked at them. And then the other resources down here is this. It's just that one that says teaching restorative practices with classroom circles, and that one they have 3 things. So there's classroom circles, discipline resources, and climate questions. So, and I don't know if this is something you have to pay for, or, hi, come on in. Come on in, ladies. Okay, come on in. You want to go ahead and get them handouts? Okay. Okay, that's okay. We were just getting started. So I was sharing this article with them, I forgot your first name, Gina. Okay, with Gina. She used to be one of our grad students, and you were a grad student too, weren't you? Yeah, so 2 of the 3 people here were grad students in our department. But I had not heard of this. Have you heard of the restorative practice, rethinking student discipline and through restorative practices? Okay, well, and they have kind of over here, they have the practices principles and then additional resources. And I did go pull up the websites, I just didn't have time to search them a lot, but it fits in right with what we're doing. And in the second column, right at the very top, one of the things it says is the term describes approaches that proactively build healthy relationships and a sense of community to prevent and address conflict and wrongdoing. And I kind of feel like that's what using trade books to address bullying will help us do. So it kind of fit right nicely in with what we're doing. Okay, there's a few more people coming. I see people in the hallway. Yeah, I'm going to wait for a minute then. We'll wait until everybody gets, okay.
Well, because she kept us and we're all ready to go.
That's okay.
We'll walk out when she's
That's okay. Hey, how are you? Actually, I have a cold, but other than that, I'm fine.
Oh, perfect for
Yeah, perfect. So I'll try not to get too near anyone. Yes.
We're a little late getting
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Okay. Okay, that's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
The other sheet is right, that one, I don't have that one. Those are the sheets that you gave her for this time.
There's handouts up here if you didn't get one. So there we go. You're welcome. Yeah, there's a few other people. That's okay. If you didn't get a handout, raise your hand. And I forget, what's your first name again?
Ariel.
Ariel's, I should remember that with Ariel. Okay. from Little Mermaid. There we go. You need a connection. That's a connection. So, okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Okay. Are we ready? Okay, I think I'll go ahead and get started again. Okay, so I'm Denise Reed. I teach here at Eastern. This is my 18th year. Hard to believe, but it's my 18th year. And I started out by sharing, you have an article called Rethinking Student Discipline. And I just got my journal, American Educator. This is also on, you have a bibliography too, and then you also have a handout from the PowerPoint. So those are in there. But it just came in the American Educator, and I was flipping through it, and it came across this article, and it's perfect for leading into what we're going to be talking about. And I had not heard of this program called Restorative Practice. But in the center, on the very bottom, it talks about the term describes approaches that proactively build healthy relationships and a sense of community to prevent and address conflict and wrongdoing. So that's the purpose of the program. And then it has some nice resources over here on the the right-hand side. It shows you practices, the principles behind it, and then additional resources. And I did go look at the website, but I didn't have a lot of time to search it. Okay. So that's kind of where we started. And I think that using trade books with kids allows us to do that, to build that kind of climate in our classroom. Has anyone seen this book by Lester Laminack? It's an excellent book, and I'm going to be sharing his model with you. It's called Bullying Hurts, Teaching Kindness Through Read-Alouds and Guided Conversations. Reba Wadsworth is also the other author of it. I'll pass it around a little later. Basically, whoops, let's see a second. Okay, let's see. Well, it's not going to go that way. Guess I'll have to use this. There we go. Okay, I'll try not to have to. Ariel, you want to stand over here and you can kind of I'll just kind of tell you when to go on for me. Thank you. Okay. First, I just want to, this is a quote that I found in Lester Laminack's book. It came from PBS Kids, though, and it's the reason why one kid would want to bully another kid is this. When you make someone feel bad, you gain some power. And so we have a lot of that going on in the classrooms, and power makes people feel like they're better than another person, and then makes them feel really good about themselves. Power also makes you stand out from the crowd, and oftentimes it works with adults, too. Okay, Ariel. And we all get teased, and we've all teasing, but what is the line between teasing and bullying? And when does teasing become harmful? And so this came from one of the articles, and on your bibliography you have the article there too by Gregory and others. It says, nasty teasing occurs when the instigator seeks to intimidate the recipient, when done repeatedly and in the presence of a power differential. Nasty teasing becomes bullying. So, like when your family teases you, like you might be clumsy, like my dad always called me Grace because I'm not graceful and stuff. So, but that's okay. It was my dad, wasn't done in a harmful way. So that's the difference there. Okay, Ariel. Okay, you probably have heard this. There's different kinds of bullying. There's direct bullying behaviors, physical and verbal, pinching, pushing, shoving someone in a locker, calling people names, making racist remarks. But the indirect ones, I think, are the ones that are kind of harder to deal with because they include things like gossiping, glaring at someone, not talking to them, giving them the cold shoulder. So those are harder to address. And then, of course, cyberbullying has become rampant. And that's even harder to address because so much of that takes place outside of the classroom, but still can have an impact on what's taking place in the classroom. So using trade books, when I was doing the research, I looked at articles related to bibliotherapy. And these are some nice quotes about what bibliotherapy is. It's using books to help people solve problems. It's defined as an approach or family of techniques for structuring interaction between a facilitator and a participant based on the mutual sharing of literature. Forgan said that bibliotherapy is using books to heal the mind, which I kind of like that, empower individuals to resolve difficulties. One of the things we have to be careful is, we want to develop a really good climate in our classroom, but if we have kids who have severe problems, it's going to have to take a different level. Where the things that I'm going to be sharing you are the things that you can use in your classroom to foster that positive climate. For kids who are having lots of difficulties, though, bibliotherapy still works, but they might need to be doing it with a social worker or a counselor or someone else that's in the room. Bibliotherapy involves reading a carefully selected book independently or in a group, discussing the story and applying lessons learned in activities that build on the story's message. A good story invites children to identify with characters, become emotionally involved, express emotions, and apply new insights to personal situations. And all of us who like to read know that because you can't read a book without getting personally involved with the characters. Okay, one of the things, even though there hasn't been a lot of research to see if bibliotherapy is working with bullying, it has worked with things like depression, anxiety disorders, aggression, and kids that are afraid of the dark and other things. So it has worked in those situations, so it seems like it would be evident that it would work with kids on bullying too. These are the three things the stages in bibliotherapy. We first want the kids to identify with the characters. So we want them to, if they don't relate to them, then they're not going to get anything from it. So we want them to kind of identify with the character. Then we want them to feel catharsis, like they are right there with the character, and it's like happening to them. They're emotionally connected. Now, that's where, it has to be a safe environment for kids to share their feelings. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And then we want the kids the books we select, we want them to give them insight into things that they can do. How can they change their behavior? So what can they do to improve? These are some things just to keep in mind. When you're reading, you want to have open classroom discussion, but you also might want to give the kids some time to write their ideas or draw things down. We want the challenges they have to be normal. So that's one of the things in all the things that I read on bibliotherapy. They said that we need to be careful in what we're selecting because sometimes some of the books, the character will solve their problems with violence. Well, we don't really want to support that in the classroom. So we want to make sure that we're careful about that. And they also, a lot of times that the bullies and the person who's the main character will end up being friends. And we might be able to foster that, but that's a long reach. So things are going to have to be done. It might help kids reduce their feeling of isolation if they think, oh, this is happening to other people. Then they might feel like, oh, I'm not alone. The main thing is we want them to model coping strategies. This is how you can hand it. And this is what is appropriate behavior. Okay, so it's a pro-social movement. We want to have what are the pro-social behaviors. And then also to give kids hope, because kids that are bullied don't feel like they have any hope. Okay. Okay, so book selection. Ideally we want to make sure that the level matches the age and maturity of the kids. If possible, character's gender, but if you're using lots of books, just make sure that it addresses all of both boys and girls. Different types of bullying. If there's certain kinds of bullying going on in your classroom, if you can find books that go along with it, that would be great. Your librarian is a good resource to ask her for books that go along with that. Bullies take, you probably have already heard this, different roles. There's the bully, the victim. Oftentimes kids are a bully and a victim, especially if they're a victim at home and stuff, and then they often carry that into the school and become a bully. And then the bystander. And a lot of what you're going to try to do in your classroom is address this. How can we keep kids from being bystanders? So how can we offer them the right thing to do? Another thing is we got to think about the adult's role or the teacher's role, because in some of the things that I read where they were talking about sometimes when kids would go to an adult, whatever the adult did made it worse, made the situation worse. So as a teacher, we need to think about how we're going to handle situations so that we don't make it worse. And we already talked about giving kids coping strategies. The other thing is the things that we read should allow with the behaviors and align with the school and the classroom rules. We can't be giving kids advice for things that aren't in there. Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead and read that, and I'm going to take a swig of water. I think this last part is the part that we really want to focus on our classrooms. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I shared the book with you, Bullying Hurts, Teaching Kindness Through Read-Alouds and Conversation and Guided Conversations. And throughout in his book, he has 5 layers that he identifies that we're going to look at. But he also has like 5 different books you can use for each layer, and then he has a list of other books that you can use. The other thing you can do is once you know what the different layers are, when you come across books, you can decide, is this a book that I could use? Which layer would it fit in? How would I use it? So these are his layers. So the first one is we have so much in common, and then across the globe we are more alike than different. And then the second layer is there are ways in which we are different. There are a range of differences in humanity, some more obvious than others. These differences do not make us better or lesser than others. The third one is thinking, feeling, and acting. And basically our actions reflect our feelings, our thoughts, and our values. And I think sometimes in the classroom we have to be so careful because we might not be as fond of one child as another, and it's really hard to make sure that we don't exhibit behaviors that might send that message to the rest of the students. Then layer 4 is when others are not thoughtful, caring, and kind. So the essential learning is we can learn to change our beliefs and treatment of others. So this is kind of really where it gets into telling kids you're in control of what you do and how you respond to situations. We can view all people worthy of kindness and respect. An opportunity, the last one is an opportunity to explore the actions of others, reflect on our feelings, and redirect our behaviors towards fellow human beings. So also coming in here is kids need to respect themselves and think and act accordingly. Choose not to be bystanders and be responsible for our actions. Okay. This is kind of the format he has. You wouldn't have to follow this format, but in this book, for each book, this is the role that he kind of do. So on day 1, he has an opening conversation. Then he does an art tour, or kind of like a book talk. But he looks through and he has the kids focus on the art and what is the art showing us in the story. Then he does a read aloud. Then they have a brief discussion. And one of the things I thought was so cool, he has them generate a bumper sticker. So what's the big idea of this story? What would be a good bumper sticker for this story? And then personal reflections and for written or art. So one of the things I like this, he says, have students keep a kindness journal. Let's not call it a bullying journal because that kind of sends the wrong message. But we could call, thoughtful reflections or a kindness journal to record their personal reflections. They're stretching their thinking and keeping track of the bumper stickers. So while we were doing this, they could write the books down and something they learned about them. And then on day 2, revisiting the bumper sticker, talking about it. Do we want to change it? Then sharing the reflections. Noticing the connections between the bumper sticker and the reflections. Repeating the read aloud. Stretching your thinking. And then personal action goal, which I like. So they have to each set a goal for themselves. And then on the 3rd day, revisiting the bumper sticker and sharing their reflections and things that they've written in their journal. Okay, so these are some of the books he has for each layer. Just a couple of them. By looking at them, are you familiar with some of these? Okay, so layer 1 is we have so much in common. I have a couple of these books and I'll pass them around. Then The Colors of Us and Moses Goes to a Concert. Thinking, Feeling, Acting, Hawaii Wadni Wat. Have you ever? I love Hawaii Wadni Wat. It's like, first of all, I like saying that. Hawaii Wadni Wat. Anyway, it's a great book. How many of you are familiar with Each Kindness? Oh, that's great. I'll have to share that in a minute. Bootsy Barker Bites. The Recess Queen is in 4. And then Stand Tall, Molly Lou Mellon. I don't have Hey Little Ant. That's one I'm going to have to get and send to it. But I'll go through and share some of these books in a minute. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so we're going to end this for a minute. And okay, so this book is written by Mem Fox. You probably know Mem Fox. She's written a lot of books, but wherever you are. So as you're looking at the art, you have the kids, go ahead and just kind of clip through it. You have the kids look and see what they notice in each pictures. And where do you think the man is having the children go? So just go ahead and go through it. So just kind of, don't go that fast. Okay, we need to have a chance to look at it. So what's something you're kind of noticing about the pictures? What's Mem Fox featuring in her pictures? People, yeah, the people and the faces. And what do we know about them? The diversity of the people. So remember, this is for the first thing, that we're all alike, that we all are alike and different. Okay. Now, what were some other things you noticed? Go ahead and go back to the beginning. So then if you could just put in show. I don't know. They don't make it very, see, no, they don't. So we'll go ahead and start it again. And go back to, they have this thing on the keyboard that makes it hard to, you have to kind of look down and see where everything is. Okay, so what were some things, what was the man doing, do you think? What do you think his role is in this book?
Well, I was intrigued by the clouds.
Okay.
That kept appearing throughout.
Because how do clouds, because,
Clothes match the scene.
yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
the clouds,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
the landscape.
Right.
and how do clouds make us feel?
Kind of protected.
Yeah, protected
We're all
and,
under that same.
yes, and there's clouds wherever we live, okay, wherever you live, okay? Someone else? There's no wrong answers. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll just read it this time. So go ahead. And, little one, whoever you are, wherever you are, there are little ones just like you all over the world. Their skin may be different from yours, and their homes may be different from yours, and I like that, the way they have the different homes going through. Their schools may be different from yours, and their lands may be different from yours. Their lives may be different from yours, and their words may be different from yours. But inside, their hearts are just like yours. whoever they are and wherever they are, all over the world. Their smiles are like yours, and they laugh just like you. Their hurts are like yours, and they cry like you too, whoever they are, wherever they are, all over the world. Little one, when you are older and when you are grown, you may be different. And they may be different wherever you are, wherever they are in this big, wide world. But remember this. Joys are the same and love is the same. Pain is the same and blood is the same. Smiles are the same and hearts are just the same. Wherever they are, wherever you are, wherever we are. Okay, all over the world. Okay, what I want you to do right now is I want you to turn and talk to your neighbors, and I want you to think about what could be an overarching theme or a bumper sticker for this book. Okay, let's see, I'm trying to see what I have going on here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's just that it's hard to. Let me go to this, and I'm actually going to go back because I'm going to go to the bumper stickers. Okay. Okay.
Oh, cheers, yes.
I love bumper stickers. Right now, the Student Reading Council, we have a slogan contest going on. So whoever the winner is gets a free book and a free T-shirt and a free book. But I just love to read slogans about books and things. So we have that going on right now. Okay, here's just a sample, some bumper stickers. So what were some of your ideas?
Unity,
Okay, unity.
a world with the people and clouds.
Okay.
And landscape.
And landscape. Okay. Okay. So you would be a very visual bumper sticker. Okay. Very good. Anyone else? What'd you guys talk about? I heard you talking, so I knew you said something.
We said everybody love everybody.
Okay. Everybody love everybody. Okay. Say it again.
ELE.
Okay. See, I don't think that way, but that's good because I don't text very well. Okay. Okay, ladies, what did you talk about?
We're just going to say we're all different but the same.
All different but the same. Okay. So you maybe can make some kind of picture or something with that. Okay. Okay. What did you ladies talk
Well,
about?
just, people are all the same.
People are all the same, okay. Even though we have some differences and there's some places going on in the world right now that it would be really nice if we could remember that. Okay. Whoops. It doesn't want to. Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to let you try it. I'm going to pass out some books to every couple of people. And you can decide how would you use the book. So we'll time that. Do you want me to you want to come choose one, or you want me to just hand some out, or how would you like to do it? Okay, well I'll give you guys, you can choose. This is layer 1, so pick one. We've already read that one, so pick one of the ones from layer 1. Okay. Here's a couple that I have from layer 2, so think about how you would use that book. Here's layer 3, and this book is the one I was going to share with you guys. That one's really good. Okay. Whoops. I'll let you guys, two ladies choose from layer 5, and you have layer 4. Okay. Okay. So this is. I kind of have the guidelines up here. So look at the pictures. What questions would you ask about the art? What would you have the students focus on as you read aloud? So kind of think about that. I think Ferdinand goes in this group too.
And we're
So,
going to sneak out
okay.
and get kids from school.
Oh, okay,
So
okay,
just an
okay,
outside
okay,
kids.
okay. Very good, very good.
A lot of times if you get books about the kids, you get I got a few, like, I haven't seen one yet.
think I might go back to the one that has the layers on it, so that way, okay, where's my mouse? There it is. Okay, so we can look at the different layers. Okay, yeah, there we go. That's all. I put the layers up so you can look at that again. I'll give you about 2 or 3 more minutes and then we'll talk about that. I'm actually going to share this one, so I'll go ahead and steal that one. Steal that one away from you.
I know I have to have this book.
I know.
I teach the deaf and hard
Which
hearing,
one?
so-
Oh, this one. And there's,
this
I
too.
think,
This
I
is
think
good.
there's a series of books about over in Bollinger Teacher Center with yeah, there's a series of, yeah, okay.
You know,
But I think all of the,
I saw that
yeah,
in here.
yeah, all of the, yeah.
And I've never seen a book like this.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they were all by the same author and stuff, but there's quite a few books over in the Bollinger Teacher Center that are about kids who have disabilities and then how they're included and stuff. So, but this one makes me cry every time I read it.
Makes me.
Yeah. So, but it's just so perfect because kids do this all the time. It's like just, yeah. Yeah. I'll give you about 1 more minute. And then we'll have each group share the book that you can tell us a little bit about the book, and then maybe your thought about what kinds of things you would ask about it or how you would use it or what you would have the kids focus on as you were using it. Okay, ladies, are you ready? Okay, we'll start with you.
We read Same But Different by Jenny Sue Katsaki Shaw. And it is about 2 boys who are pen pals who live on different sides of the world. And they talk about their schools, how they get to school, their pets and their families. And so they'll have one picture of where one boy is from and then a picture from where the other boy is from. And it just goes through and talks about their lives and how even though they live on opposite sides of the planet, they're different, but a lot of what they do is the same.
Okay, so and that's layer 1. Okay, so that we have so much in common. Okay, it's kind of the layer. Okay, this group. Okay.
Our book is called The Colors of Us, and it's a layer 2 book, so it talks about like differences. The girl, the main character, Luna, I think that's how you pronounce it. She just like goes through and talks about like the different people in her life and how they all have different colored skin. And then we like thought of a book or superior and we said different colors of the world.
Okay. Oh, very nice. One of my students in a book talk she read this book and she brought in a box of crayons and she had each person draw a sketch of themselves using a crayon that would match their color. Okay. Which book do you have?
We had Moses Goes to a Concert, and it was we didn't get a chance to read it, but it's a story of a teacher that takes his deaf students to a concert, and it's really cute the way it's set up. There's signs throughout, and then he gives them each a balloon. There's signs throughout. He gives them each a balloon and to feel the music.
And then they learn that the person doing the performer is like that too. So then she goes and speaks to them and lets them do it. And then there's like a whole couple of pages.
Yeah.
It's
And what was the title of that one?
Moses Goes to a Concert.
on the
On the yes.
on one of the slides.
Yeah. Okay.
We have Each Kind by Jacqueline Woodson. And this is about a girl named Chloe and her classmates and a new student that moves to town and tries very hard to read reach out and be included and be accepted.
But she comes in and she's ragged clothes and
Not dressed
not
right
dressed
for the
nice,
winter.
doesn't have, brings in old, things.
Secondhand shoes and clothes, and they kind of rebuff every move she makes. And so one day, the teacher does a lesson about kindness by using pebbles and water and how every act of kindness you show spreads out and can change things for someone, even if it seems small, just like ripples in the water, which actually Chloe takes to heart. Some students that would be lost on, but
That is
some of
true.
her classmates
Yes.
were not getting it by the acts, but she could not put her pebble in because she was feeling as if she had nothing to contribute
Well,
to
the
that.
other point to that is the day that she did that lesson, Maya's desk was empty. She wasn't there that day, and then she wasn't there the next day. And the
And
next.
she was hoping that she would come back and then turn things around and start to return her smile, but she never came back. She moved to a new place. And so it just ends with her really reflecting on how she would never get another chance to show those kindnesses.
So you never know when your chance is up, so
Yeah.
take it when you have it.
And the other thing, the author of that book, Jacqueline Woodson, she mostly writes for middle school kids. So this was a picture book that she did. Okay, ladies, what book are you going to share?
This is called Believe. We didn't have to do it, we read more than I did.
Oh, when it was like there were 2 new people coming to school, and I guess she got in with a popular crowd, and they were picking on, I don't really know if it was a brother, through cyberbullying, and I guess they called him like a hippo or something from what I was reading, and she didn't like that very much, so she stopped hanging out with them, and the main girl gave us like, you don't do the dumb thing we do, so they like made her, they framed her for stealing a test, but she stuck with her other friend or brother, and like they resolved it and stuff, I think.
Okay. And that's Patricia Polacco, who's written lots of very good books and stuff, so
I
yes.
liked because it was set in junior high.
Yes.
And so it's a picture book for older kids.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I think, the nice thing about using these kind of books in junior high is it takes away the decoding process that kids have to go through if something's too difficult for them, so they can still, and doing a read aloud. If you're doing this with a read aloud, it has such good, rich information, they're not going to feel like you're dumbing it down for them either. Okay. I just want to share a couple of, let me see, is there anything else on this? Yeah.
Have you read The Truth About Truman School?
No, I haven't read that one.
I used that as a read aloud for my 8th graders because we did a diversity unit for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and Christmas and that. And it's cyberbullying, but there is a Muslim student in the school, there's a girl who just doesn't speak, and there's, they launched this cyberbullying attack on this popular girl, and it's a really powerful book. Kids can relate really well to that and respond well to teach an older
Communication, yeah. And there are so many good books. I'm pretty sure on your bibliography there's some chapter books too that are listed. And there's a really old book, but I used it with my 4th graders that I loved. It's called In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson. Are you familiar with that one? And the little girl moves into the neighborhood and there is a bully on the playground and she does get beat up by her, but they actually in that book do end up becoming friends. And the same thing with The Recess Queen, which is one of the picture books that was here. That's one that I don't have either. I'm just going to wrap up, I'm going to see if I missed anything I want to say. I don't think anything really important, but okay, come on, there you go. Okay, and then of course this ties in with the Common Core standards, but that's not really important. And these are the social, emotional learning, the I am, I can, I care, I will statements. Is anyone familiar with this book, Snowflakes Fall? I was just at the Illinois Reading Council conference, and are you familiar with Stephen Kellogg? He's done a lot of artwork, and he's written some books too. Like one of mine is Pinkerton Behave. It's about his dog, and he really did have a dog, Pinkerton, and it was a Great Dane. And Pinkerton goes to obedience school and flunks out. So first of all, I like it because it reminds me of my dog. She definitely would have flunked out, except for now she's 12, so she's much calmer. But he lived in Sandy Hook, and Patricia McLaughlin, who did, well, she wrote lots of books, but Sarah Plain and Tall, and Baby, and The Facts and Fictions of Minna Pratt. She also was from that area, and so after they got together and they decided they wanted to write a book that doesn't really, because I had no idea this was about Sandy Hook until I had seen the book, until I had gone. So I'll just point out some things to you. Because this one's not really a one for bullying, but maybe if somebody had done something with this boy or caught on, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. So snowflakes fall. After the snow flowers are gone, snowflakes fall. Flake after flake after flake. Each one a pattern, all its own. No two the same, all beautiful. So again, it would fit in with everyone's the same. Snowflakes fall to sit on gardens and evergreen trees. On the fur of dogs and the tongues of laughing children, no two the same, all beautiful. Snowflakes fall, drift, and swirl together like the voices of children. Snowflakes fall on a winding river's sandy banks. And he actually, this was kind of their house, so he has that in there too. He lives in upper state New York now, but this is where he I think his kids grew up here and he lived here for a long time. And this was kind of catharsis for them, writing this book. On a hilltop town, on its ancient church, on its loved library, and its familiar flagpole, these were all things that were found in Sandy Hook. When snowflakes fall at night, wailing winds may blow, and frantic icy snowflakes scratch the window glass. Branches fly, and shadows darken dreams. But then, when we wake in the morning light, surprise, the world shines. Snowflakes fall to quilt meadows, so we see the wandering prints of birds, rabbits, the bobcat at dawn, and the footprints of small red boots making sled paths, and snowmen, and forts, and fields of snow angels. And then here's Pinkerton, because he puts Pinkerton in his books. Okay, so that's his dog, Pinkerton. I got to hear him speak, that's why. And when the snowflakes melt in a quiet sun, they fill the chattering streams, flowing, rushing, sending drops of water to fall as rain on places where the snowflakes had been, when soon flowers will grow again. And when the flowers bloom, the children remember the snowflakes. And we remember the children, no two the same, all beautiful. And then if you count, there's 20 snow angels here. Anyway, I just thought I'd end with that. So, very powerful. And that's what we want to prevent from happening to our children. So, okay.